Okay, so cellular respiration happens in three phases. The first phase is glycolysis, which is the breaking down of glucose. Um, Glucose is a six-carbon molecule, and those six carbons get broken down into two three-carbon groups with a phosphate attached. And how that happens is we need ATP for that to happen. So that's where you get the phosphates that it breaks down, that attaches to the three-carbon molecules, and that is pyruvate. And from pyruvate, we get a product of two. Each pyruvate releases two NADHs, so the NAD pluses get reduced to NADHs, and we also get a product of two ATPs. So in total for glycolysis, our products is a net of two ATPs and two NADHs. Okay, so now we're in the next phase, which is called the Krebs cycle. So before the Krebs cycle can begin, we need to oxidize our pyruvates to get acetyl-CoA. So the two pyruvates, remember the three carbon structures with the phosphates attached. So that's going to break up into a two carbon structure, which is acetyl-CoA. And so when the pyruvate breaks up, it releases carbon, and that's going to produce carbon dioxide. Also, when the pyruvate breaks up, it reduces NAD plus into NADH. And remember, that's going to happen twice. So now when we have our acetyl-CoA, we're entering the Krebs cycle. For order the Krebs cycle to work, we need oxalate. I don't know how to say that word. Oxalic acid, which is a four-carbon structure. So there's all the six carbons accounted for. So those two are going to begin the Krebs cycle, and the Krebs cycle, or those two make citric acid. And so that's a six-carbon structure. And so the Krebs cycle is going to be a cycle where a lot of things, so in this cycle, it's kind of like machine working, and the machine is going to release two carbons, which turn into carbon dioxide. It's also going to release some NAD pluses that reduce to NADHs, and then you're going to get some ATP from there, and you're going to get the product of FADH2, which is what we need for our electron transport chain. So in the Krebs cycle in total, we have a total of 6 NADHs that we got, plus the 2 from the pyruvate oxidation that we got. So that's a total of 8 NADHs. And then from the Krebs cycle, we also have 2 ATPs, and we have 2 FADH2s. So, and in glycolysis, we had another 2 NADHs, giving us a total of 10 NADHs, and then we had 2 ATPs, giving us a total of 4 ATPs from those 2 cycles. So those are the products of the 2 cycles to get us ready for our last cycle, which is the electron transport chain. So the inputs to the electron transport chain, I forgot to say that the glycolysis happens in the cytosol, and the Krebs cycle happens in the matrix of the mitochondria, which is the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Okay, so now we're inside the inner membrane of the mitochondria, and that's where the electrons are going to transport inside and outside the membrane to higher energy levels to produce more energy from higher to lower energy levels. Okay, so in order to facilitate the electron transport, we need 10 NADHs and we have our 10 NADHs and our 2 FADH2s. So those two are going to produce, so the 10 NADHs are going to produce a net of 30 ATP in the electron transport chains, and the FADHs are going to produce 4 ATPs in the electron transport chain. So the electron transport chain is a redox reaction. We have our NADH that is going to oxidize into NAD plus and hydrogen, and then you have your 2 electrons. And those 2 electrons are going to be transported, because those are at a high energy level, they're going to be transported to a lower energy level, facilitated by proteins, by coenzyme Q and cytochrome C. And so when that travels from a higher energy level to a lower energy level, that extra energy is going to get released. And that extra energy, when that extra energy releases, that's what pushes the hydrogen protons out of the matrix into the outer membrane. So the energy is used to pump hydrogen protons across the matrix into the outer matrix, and the way it transfers is through protein complexes. So once that's out of there, the electron transport changes. Once the oxidation is done, the electron transport chain is going to want to transfer back in. The hydrogen protons are going to want to transfer back in to the matrix, and they do so by ATP synthase. And so when they transfer back in through ATP synthase, they're going to produce ATP. And the electron transport chain is where we get the most of our ATP. So the products of the electron transport chain, we're going to get 34 ATP, giving us a total of 38 for cellular respiration. Because remember earlier I said that the 10 NADHs are going to produce. So each NADH produces 3 ATPs, giving us a total of 30 ATPs. And each FADH2 is going to produce 4 ATPs in the electron transport chain, giving us a total of 4 ATPs. Plus the 4 we had so that's a total of 34 plus the other 4 we had from the 2 from glycolysis and the 2 from the Krebs cycle, give us a total of 38 for cellular respiration. That's how cellular respiration happens.